Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, not to a sound, not to a disturbance, but to a presence, a shadow lurking at the edge of your awareness. It whispers things you don't want to hear, shows you images you've tried to forget, and pulls at the parts of yourself you've locked away. This is not a nightmare. This is your shadow self, the unclaimed, unacknowledged, and often despised fragments of who you are. And this video is not about running from it. This is a call to turn and face it, to stare into the darkness until it becomes your greatest teacher. Most people spend their lives pretending the shadow doesn't exist. They mask it with positivity, drown it in distractions, or project it onto others, blaming the world for what they refuse to see in themselves. But here's the truth. The shadow does not disappear when ignored. It grows. It seeps into your relationships, your decisions, your fears, and your failures. It becomes the unseen hand steering your life while you pretend you're in control. Today, we do not run. Today, we confront. This is not about self-help cliches or shallow affirmations. This is about the raw, uncomfortable, and transformative work of integrating your darkness so you can finally step into the light. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This is the path to true power, not by denying your shadow, but by reclaiming it. But before we begin this descent, if you're ready to face what most refuse to see, to stop lying to yourself about who you are, then support this video with a like and subscribe. What comes next will demand courage. Sit quietly. What you hear may unravel you before it rebuilds you. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a forest at dusk. You know what lurks in those trees, the parts of you that shame you, the anger you've suppressed, the desires you've buried, the childhood wounds you've bandaged but never healed. Most people never step into that forest. They turn their backs and pretend it isn't there. But you take the first step. Why? Because you're tired of being haunted by what you won't face. The shadow is not your enemy. It is the exiled part of you, the traits you were taught to reject. Your aggression, your vulnerability, your selfishness, your wildness. Society rewards the acceptable mask, but beneath it, the shadow festers. Think of the last time you judged someone harshly. That wasn't about them. That was your shadow projecting what you deny in yourself onto another. The more you reject it, the more it controls you. Jung called this the golden shadow because within it lies not just darkness, but disowned power. The rage you suppress, it could be assertiveness. The pride you hide, it could be self-respect. The selfishness you deny, it could be healthy boundaries. The shadow is not just what's ugly in you, it's what you've been too afraid to claim. But here's where most fail. They assume facing the shadow means becoming it. Number integration is not indulgence. It's not about acting on every dark impulse. It's about acknowledging these impulses so they no longer rule you from the shadows. A man who denies his anger becomes either a doormat or a ticking bomb. A woman who denies her sensuality becomes either rigid or secretly reckless. The shadow always finds a way. So how do you begin? You stop running. You sit with yourself in silence and ask, what do I hate in others? What makes me uncomfortable? What have I been ashamed of? Where do I feel like a fraud? The answers point to your shadow. Then you dialogue with it. You ask it, what do you want me to know? What are you protecting me from? This is not therapy. This is alchemy, turning lead into gold. The first time you do this, it will hurt. You'll want to turn away, but stay. The shadow only seems monstrous until you bring it into the light. Then, something miraculous happens. The energy you spent suppressing it becomes available to you. The shame loses its grip. The compulsions fade. You become whole. This is not a one-time act. It's a lifelong practice. Every time you think, I could never do that, or that's not me, question it. That's your shadow speaking. Every time you feel an irrational dislike for someone, ask, what in me am I seeing in them? The more you do this, the more you reclaim the power you've given away. Most people live as fragments, terrified of their own depths. But you will dive, because you know the truth. The only way out is through. The shadow is the gatekeeper to your light. Face it, and you will no longer fear the darkness in the world or in yourself. And when you do, something shifts. The world still turns, people still disappoint, chaos still comes. But you are no longer at war with yourself. The shadow becomes not your enemy, but your ally. The parts of you once hated become your greatest strengths. You've taken the first step. You've acknowledged the shadow. Now comes the harder work, the excavation. This is where most turn back, because facing the shadow isn't about admitting it exists. It's about letting it speak, and what it says will unsettle you. Think of the last time you were irrationally angry, not just annoyed, angry, the kind of anger that feels disproportionate, that shocks even you. That wasn't just frustration. That was your shadow clawing its way to the surface. The same goes for those moments of unexpected pettiness, the flashes of jealousy you're ashamed to admit, the cruel thoughts that flicker through your mind before you bury them. These aren't flaws. These are messages. Jung called this the shadow's language. It doesn't speak in polite words. It speaks in raw emotion, in dreams, in slips of the tongue, in the things you accidentally say when you're tired or hurt. The more you ignore it, the louder it gets. The more you suppress it, the more it leaks out in ways you can't control. So how do you listen without being consumed? You stop judging yourself. The shadow thrives on shame. The moment you say, I shouldn't feel this way, you give it power. Instead, you ask, why does this bother me so much? You trace the emotion back to its root. That rage at your boss? It might not be about work, it might be about your father. That envy of a friend's success? It might not be about them. It might be about the dreams you abandoned. The shadow doesn't deal in surface-level truths. It speaks in symbols, in echoes of the past, in the parts of you that never got to speak. This is where people get lost. They think shadow work is about confessing sins or wallowing in guilt. It's about understanding. The shadow isn't evil, it's wounded. It's the part of you that adapted to survive. The people-pleaser's shadow holds repressed rage. The perfectionist's shadow hides a fear of being exposed as a fraud. The tough, unshakable persona's shadow. A child who was never allowed to be soft. Your task isn't to destroy the shadow. It's to renegotiate your relationship with it. Imagine your shadow as a neglected sibling locked in the basement of your psyche. It's not a monster. It's hurt, and it's been banging on the door for years, demanding to be heard. Most people respond by turning up the music, pretending they can't hear it. But you open the door. You sit with it. You ask, what do you need? At first, it will scream, it will accuse, it will show you things you don't want to see, memories you've suppressed, desires you've denied, truths you've avoided. This is the hardest part. You will want to shut the door. Don't. Keep listening. Because beneath the anger is pain. Beneath the pettiness is unmet need. Beneath the jealousy is grief for what you've lost or never had. The shadow doesn't just hold your darkness, it holds your unlived life. The parts of you that were shamed into hiding. The passions you abandoned to fit in. The instincts you buried to be good. And here's the secret. The shadow doesn't want to destroy you. It wants to be integrated. The more you listen, the quieter it gets. The more you acknowledge it, the less it controls you. That explosive temper, it softens into assertiveness. That crushing self-doubt, It transforms into discernment. The shadow's energy doesn't disappear, it transmutes. What was once chaos becomes power, but this only happens if you stop fighting it. Most people spend their lives at war with themselves. They label parts of themselves bad and exile them, only to wonder why they feel fractured. The spiritual bypassers, the toxic positivity crowd, the ones who say, just focus on the light. They're the ones most haunted by their shadows, because the light they chase is a lie. Real enlightenment isn't about avoiding darkness. It's about holding both. Jung said it best. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is the work. Not transcending your humanity, but embracing it. Not pretending to be pure, but becoming whole. So tonight, when the shadow whispers, don't silence it. Don't spiritualize it away. Sit with it. Ask it, what are you trying to show me? This is the path, not upward but inward. And if you think this is the end, you're wrong, because the shadow is just the beginning, is just